All right, hi everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Dr. Els. Again, we had some technical difficulty just earlier, and I hope those of you who are on, you can get back on with me. All right, I want to welcome you. It is a beautiful evening. I hope you can hear me now. All right, and so let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Right, wherever you are, I want to welcome you back. I know we had quite a few of you on, and so I am back on. Just got that little issue fixed. So, welcome to Conversations with Dr. Els, and I want to shout out all of you who are with me today, and we want to just have an exciting time together. Remember, this conversation is not a lecture, it is a conversation. And so you have the opportunity to share in your comments in the chat. You have the opportunity to let me know your thoughts, your opinion. You have the opportunity to ask questions. And so I am looking forward to an exciting time together this evening. I want you to share this conversation. Let someone know Conversations with Dr. Els is on, and let them know we are going to have a great time together. So, hey, good evening wherever you are. Good day wherever you are. Good night, good morning, whenever you listen to this conversation. I want to just hail you up. I want to say hi to Kevin Rodriguez. Great having you, my brother. Locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. We're going to dive into a very interesting topic. And so I want you to share this conversation. I want to also hail up and wish a very, very happy birthday to one of my regulars, which is Curtis Thomas. Curtis Thomas, a happy birthday to you. Another 365 days around the sun. And I want to wish you all God's blessing as you celebrate your birthday today. Okay. Last week, I wasn't on because I had the launch of an exciting system that is called a drip free marriage system. And this system is a system that helps married couple, because as I would usually say, marriage don't break suddenly. Strong marriages don't break suddenly, they leak slowly. All right. And this what this is showing is that marriages doesn't end when one partner say, I want a divorce, or when they pack up and say, I am leaving. That's not when the marriage ends. The marriage for in a lot of times ended a long before that. You would often hear when you would hear the party says things like, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore. All right. Welcome again, Curtis, and a happy birthday to you again, my brother. All right. You would hear someone say, I have been saying this over and over. And so what happened is that the little things, the little what I call the little drips, the leaks that are there that hasn't been fixed constantly erodes the marriage, and then it comes to the point when the person said that this is it, I am ready to leave, I want a divorce, and all of that. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to happen that way. And I have developed this system that can help married couples. And so, if you're married or if you know anyone that is married, this system is just an amazing. I am so excited about this system. That it's. I'm vested into it, and I'm telling you, this system is going to help your marriage. And don't say, Dr. Els, well, my marriage is strong, and this is for you. All right. It helps strong marriages because strong marriages don't break suddenly, they leak slowly. And what is a system? Right, the system is helping you to find those leaks and deal with those leaks. So in my system, I have an assessment that you and your spouse can go through, and you can do the assessment, and you can really find out where the leaks are in the system. There are 7 marriage leaks that I explain, and I also show you what I call the drip cycle, how it cycles around. The system shows you that, and it helps you to repair and reconnect. All right, in this system, you have, as I said, you have the assessment. Actually, you have the course in which you can do, you and your spouse, and work through. All right, it's not marriage counseling or anything. It is a system that is going to help you to fix the little leaks before they become damage, or before they break your relationship. Let me pause and say good evening, Arden Cameron Tannis. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right. Great having you locked on, guys. It's a privilege to have you on. And so last week I launched the system. Last week I launched that drip free system, and I was really exciting. The main text for the system is the book that I call Drip Free Marriage: How to Stop the Slow Leak That's Ruined Love. All right, and we had an exciting time there. We have, I mean, this is a very, very practical system. We also have, as part of this system, a drip-free intimacy kit that you can order, that it could help you and your spouse, really develop back or reconnect together. So, guys, you're gonna hear more about this system. I'm gonna take some time and explain every part of the system to you. All right, I'll do that, and then I'll let you know what is happening. So I'm really, really, really exciting for this system. All right. But also, before I jump into what we want to talk about this evening, I want to say Mother's Day is coming up next Sunday. We celebrate Mother's Day, and I have the perfect gift for you to give to your mother. Give your mother the gift of reading. I have this book that I've written, Fruit of the Womb. It is an amazing book. It's a book that every parent should have in their library. It's a book that talks about what the Bible says: children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. I wish I had something like this to before I got married and before I got children. I wish I had something like this that would help me to distinguish the characteristics of these children and help me to be a better parent to my three wonderful children. I mean, they are wonderful, but I'm sure if I had a tool like this, it would have helped me to even be a better father. So go on Amazon, grab this, or if you're in the vicinity, you can get it from me. You can message me if you need a copy. It's a book for any parent. If you know a mother or a father, you should get this book for them. And since Mother's Day is coming up, like I said, this is a perfect gift. If you have someone, they're expecting an expecting mother, or a mother of a toddler, an infant, a teenager, or what we call a tween or a preteen, or even if it's an adult child, this is a great tool for you as a mother. And you may say, well, Dr. Els, I have adult children. It's something that you can use to help other mothers there. So go to Amazon, grab this book, or message me and get the book from me. It is really a great tool for you to have in your library as a mother. All right, this is a great tool for you to have. It's a great gift for someone that they can have. All right, so I want to highly recommend that to you. Okay, so this evening I want to talk, and I'm not going to be able to finish this topic, but I want to talk about why do couples, why they do not talk about sex. All right, now I am not saying why this topic is not why couples don't have sex. That is an issue. But the key here is really, why do couples stop talking about sex? Right? And this is not really about sex per se. You may say, well, but it has sex in it. But it's about silence. It's about safety. It is about shame or rejection. This conversation is about pressure. It's about things like emotional distance, or even things like unmet expectation. So let's talk. But before we do that, I want to just say hi to Salman Ash. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And I pray that you are having a great day. All right. So we are talking about, why do couples stop talking about sex? A lot of couples are not struggling with sex only, right? They're struggling with the conversation around sex. If you talk, and I have been working with couples. I teach ministry to family. I have conversations with couples, and especially Christian couples. And for some, it's not that they're necessarily struggling with sex, but they're struggling with the conversation around it. They don't talk about it. Anybody know what I mean? It's like a taboo subject. I always recall that when this subject comes up in my class, and I'm talking about adults, I'm talking about students who are adults, students who are married. I'm talking about that. Every time this topic comes up in my ministry to family class, there is always a giggle. There's always a laugh. There's always some person trying to shy away from the topic. And so we want to have this grown, respectful but honest conversation. Why do couples stop talking about sex? Or why do couples not talk about sex? And I know probably for some people this might be a bit uncomfortable, but that is the reason exactly why we need to talk about it. Because in many relationships, especially in marriages, couples, they may share, of course they share a house, may have children, they share the bills, they sleep in the same bed, but they do not always know how to share an honest conversation about intimacy. They don't know how to talk honestly about intimacy. And so I want to help you today. I want for us to talk about this, all right? Because tonight we're not going to be vulgar. Um, it's not about embarrassing anybody either. All right, but I want you to feel comfortable to be able to talk about these things. It's about helping couples understand why silence enters the bedroom. It's about helping people, why people stop expressing what they feel. Why is it that you don't say what you like or don't like, it's about how that silence can become a distance, how that can affect the marriage. Okay, so we want let's have an honest conversation about that. Let's have an honest discussion about that. So hey, let me ask, let me start with this. Why do you think couples find it so hard to talk honestly about sex? Give me some comments in the comment section. Share your thoughts, share your opinion, all right? Share your knowledge with the world. Why do you think couples find it hard to talk honestly about sex? I pause for a moment so that you can share your thoughts with us. And you know what you could do? You could just put one word. For example, let me help you. All right, let me start with one. Maybe it's shame. You know, some people are just ashamed to talk about it because maybe even their body, they're ashamed of their body or something like that. So give me some thoughts, give me some of your thoughts. Why is it that couples are ashamed, or why is it, sorry, that couples do not want to talk about, say, okay, I see somebody already said the same thing I said just now, shame. No, you don't want to talk about it because you are afraid, or you feel some sort of shame. Let me just pause and say hi to Norlene Richardson Hayward. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right, so we are talking this evening, Norlene, and for those of you who are on, we are talking about why is it that couples do not talk about sex? Why they don't have that conversation? Right, I know that couples struggle with the whole sex issue, in terms of the challenges one partner may have. We talked on this conversation about trauma and such like that. But the question this evening is, why is it they don't talk about it? Why is it that it's hard for certain couples to have an honest conversation about sex? All right, one person said shame. Um, another reason would be fear. They are afraid of, what might happen. They're afraid that if they talk about it, they may sound vulgar, or they may sound unchristian, if you put it that way. I want to pause here and say hi to the beautiful Dale, Jan, Lane, Neil. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els, and I hope that you had a wonderful birthday last week. I love you so much. All right, Jennifer, Joseph, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. L. Dr. Beverly Forbes, the Abbey, great having you locked on. All right, and I also see another reason popped up in the chat: fear of rejection by their partner. And that is so true. Couples, there's some persons, they won't want to talk about it. They don't want to say, okay, how they feel about it. They don't want to bring up the topic because they are afraid that they would be rejected by the partners. So you sit together in bed and or wherever you're together, and you don't talk about it. You lie in bed, you actually, for some couple, you have sex, but there's no conversation around that. What do I like? What I don't like? Being honest about it. Okay, another reason which is very true is that how persons were brought up. Okay, some persons were brought up not to talk about it. It is taboo to talk about it, and that is so true. As a matter of fact, some people were brought up with, when you do this thing, lights have to be off. You're in the dark. Don't want to see each other or anything like that. So because it was only it was thought that this is sex is really for procreation. So we had to have children. That's the way that you have children. So we do it and whatever, and that's it. Some wife would just brought up, this is your wifely duty, and so this is it, but we don't talk about it. And this is one of the reasons why marriages break. All right, this is why one of the reasons why marriages break. There's another comment there: embarrassment. They feel embarrassed. All right, so again, because they were brought up that way, they're embarrassed to talk about sex. Though this little word, 3-letter word, the word that actually destroys from kings to peasants across the world, is something that people are afraid to talk about. Let me pause and say hi to Suzette Hillocks Mason. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right, so we are talking about why do people, or why do couples find it so hard to talk honestly about sex? And we have some reasons in the chat. We have shame, we have fear, we have rejection, we have embarrassment. We also talk about trauma some time ago. And for some, it's also even disappointment. Just put that in there, because they may have done it before, and they're disappointed in how the conversation goes. So things like that are some reasons why it is so hard for couples to really talk about it. Well, you see, let me say, many people assume that when couples stop talking about sex, the issue is when they start talking about it, it's because they just want it, right? And even when, for some, if they stop talking about it, some people will say, well, it's because they don't desire it anymore, right? But sometimes it's not that. Sometimes, again, it's trying to be safe, because they may have been embarrassed, or they feel not depressed, sorry, they feel discouraged or dejected and all of that, so they don't want to have that conversation because they're afraid of being judged, right? So as we unpack that, we talk about things like they're afraid of being judged. The woman talk about what she likes or what she wants, or and then she's looked at as if, you are, did I marry you? What is this about? So they're being judged if the man talks about how many times he would like to have sex or such like that. These are things that people are afraid to talk about, and some people do not talk about it because they do not want to hurt their spouse, and especially if there is some issue in the marriage, meaning if there is some if problem where the man may have a problem, or the woman, and most time it's often the man. If the man has a problem with things like maybe erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation or some issue, and he's not performing well, the wife don't want to talk about it because she doesn't want to hurt him. And these are real things. People do not talk about it because they don't want to hurt their spouse, or they don't want to be able to say, I want it this way, or I like it this way. The other person may feel, well, I'm not doing good enough, so that's why they're saying that, and they can become embarrassed, right? Some people do not talk about it because the last time they brought it up, and I said that earlier, the last time they brought it up, it became an argument. It became something because maybe they cannot come to a compromise. And so because of that past issue, I don't bring it up again, right? But I'm saying that it is important for you to have a conversation from time to time. I'm not saying that every time you have a conversation it has to be about sex, but it's very important as you in your relationship with your partner to have that conversation from time to time. It's just like anything. How are we dealing with the bills? How are we dealing with the children? What is it that we have to do? Sometimes we have to stop and evaluate. We have to stop and check. How are we doing? What can we do to make it better? What should we continue to do or not do? How can we spice this up? Have the conversation, man. It's all about you and your spouse wanting a better relationship. Some people don't talk about it because, of course, they feel rejected already, because sometimes they do not know. Actually, some people don't talk about it because they do not know how to say what they need without sounding demanding. And very important that we see these things happening in relationships. The bedroom often reveals what the relationship has been carrying. Let me say that again. The bedroom often reveals what the relationship has been carrying. So not being able to talk about it or not wanting to talk about it is because there are something bigger. So let me ask you another question. Do you believe emotional distance affect physical intimacy? Let me ask that again. Do you believe emotional distance affects physical intimacy? And let me pause and say hi to Eileen, John. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. L. Sissy. Great having you on. All right, so let's hear this comment. I would say the way they were brought up is a good one. Yes, the way they were brought up is a reason. I learned in college that I learned this comment is saying I learned in college that sex is being male or female. All right. They are afraid of talking about sexual intercourse. I don't understand people having sexual relations and afraid to talk about it. And that is so true, right? That is so true. You're having it. Why are you afraid to talk about it? And so yes, we would have the thing about sex and gender. As a matter of fact, when you in those days, if you're filling out your passport form, or you traveling and you have to do those cards, you used to fill out those cards when you're traveling, and or any documents before would have sex, right? And you were to write male or female, because that's what it mean. I heard the story of one man who was traveling, and when he came up to that question, or that in the form, that place where it says sex, he wrote 4 times a week. Right, he didn't know exactly what that meant, but yes, I agree with you. That's what we were taught in college and stuff, sex being male or female. But we're talking about sexual intercourse, having that conversation. I mean, if you are having sexual intercourse, why can't you talk about it? Why can't you say what you like, what you don't like, things like that? And that's what we are talking about, right? And so I see several of you saying yes, to the question, do you believe emotional distance affects physical intimacy? And most of you saying yes, absolutely. This is so very important, especially for women. But ladies, I want you to understand this, that men, it also affects men, right? Because some people think that as a man there is no emotion when it comes to sexual intercourse. Sometimes men, you have an argument or something happen and they don't want to have sex at that moment. I mean, yes, if the woman continues to advance and do things, because of his body makeup, he will submit. But even in those moments, it may just be a giving into, and not a real emotional connection, because sexual intercourse is more than just being physical. And we will talk about that, or we talked about that before. All right, it is emotional. But for women especially, you have an argument outside, they're not ready, because there's that emotional connection. All right, and so we got to understand this. All right, so let me throw out a few. We talk about one spouse may stop bringing up this because they feel rejected, and you know let me I'm throwing out these questions to you, because I want you to talk to me this evening. But let me say hi to Beverly Bailey. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. What do you think hurts more, being told no or feeling unwanted? You advance, and the woman says, no, I'm tired tonight, I can't do this. What do you think hurts more, if the party is saying, if the party hears no, or if the party feels unwanted? Just run that in the chat for me. I'm gonna ask a few questions, and I want you to talk to me about this feeling unwanted. And so, all right, so we see someone say feeling unwanted. Sometimes no is people hear no, and you could understand sometimes. All right, feel okay. Someone say feeling unwanted hurts like hell. That is so, I totally agree with you, and I love your interaction this evening with this conversation, right? um Being told no is easily, well, I want to say easily understood. But yeah, you can understand that, and especially sometimes as the other spouse, you might understand, well, the person is tired or such like that, and or they've worked hard, right? You can understand that a little more. But when you start feeling unwanted, and you feel like she doesn't look at me, she doesn't touch me, or he doesn't really pay attention to me. It's like, they say, and this is not always true, right? But oftentimes I would hear women say to each other, if he's not doing it at home, if he doesn't want it at home, is because he's getting it somewhere else. And that is not always true, right? Because men have issues also. But the truth is, both for males and female, when you feel unwanted, when you feel as if your spouse, your partner is not looking in your direction, it hurts. I'm going to use the term back there. It hurts like hell, because all of us need to feel wanted. All right. Someone said feeling unwanted would hurt more and the pain would last longer as opposed to no. And that is quite true. All right. So the other spouse may stop talking. Let's look at this. Let me give you this other question. The other spouse may stop talking because every conversation feels like pressure, or every conversation feels like criticism or expectation. All right. Let me just read this comment. Feeling unwanted is like a complete blockout, right? Feeling unwanted is like a complete blockout. So we I think we could agree that feeling unwanted, it hurts a lot more than hearing no. All right, so here's my next question. Can a conversation about sex become pressure even when that was not the intention? Do you think that having a conversation about sex could become pressure? Because we're saying that people don't talk about it because for some, the fear of pressure. The other spouse may stop talking because every conversation feels like pressure, or it feels like criticism, or expectation, right? So if we start talking about it, then it feels like, okay, once we start talking about it, he wants to have it, or she wants to have it. So the question is, can a conversation about sex become pressure even when that is not the intention? For some, yes. You see, because people often think that, hey, because we want to talk about it, mean that you want it. And I say it can if the other spouse isn't open to it. I've always said, and you probably have heard me say this before, especially in the church world, we've learned so much about thou shalt not. Okay, thou shalt not have sex before marriage. It's fornication. Thou shalt not kiss before marriage. You should not do this and you should not do that. And you grew up from your youth, especially if you've been in church and you hear all of these things so much that when you get into the relationship, when you get into marriage, you don't know how to move from thou shalt not to thou shalt. All right, you don't know how to have things like this conversation. And so when the conversation comes up, it feels as if you are being pressured, because you think that, hey, once you talk about it, it means, and let me say, it does not always mean that. There are times, of course, that if you have a conversation, and especially if the conversation is an emotionally connected one, if it's a deep conversation about sexual intimacy, talking about what your likes and not like, it can lead to actually having sexual intercourse, because you are connecting, and that's so key in terms of your spouse. Once you are emotionally connected, it's easy for you to have that physical intimacy. Let me just read this comment. Yes, if the party is uncomfortable about using the word sex, although they are having it. So if they are uncomfortable about using the word, even if they're having it and they are comfortable talking about it, it can feel like pressure. All right. Uh, and so we're talking this evening about why is it so hard for persons to talk openly and honestly about it. And I'm gonna continue this conversation because I want to get to the place where we talk about what are some of the things you should talk about, in a conversation like that. But for now, we want to look at why some of the reasons why people don't. Some people were raised to think, and we saw that earlier, right? Some people were raised to think that sex is dirty. And so even after marriage, they still believe that it is. And so they do it just out of duty. So now they're married because they were told that it's dirty. But they still do not know how to talk about desire, how to talk about their feelings without feeling guilty. All right. So here, and this is gonna be my last question for you this evening. Do you think some people enter marriage physically, or let me put it this way? Do you think that some people enter marriage physically married? So what I'm saying, you're married, you get into marriage physically, but they are emotionally unprepared for intimacy. Do you think you have persons who come into marriage? Yes, they're married, sign the paper, whatever, and they want to be married. So it's not like they don't want to be married. They understand marriage, right? But they are emotionally unprepared for intimacy. Do you think that we have people like that? All right, somebody says, I think is the way they brought up fearing the word sex. All right. And so while you're answering in the chat, I guess I believe that you would agree with me that yes, there are, all right, definitely I see in the chat. There are a lot of people who get into marriage, but they are emotionally unprepared. They were not coached or taught, how. They were not helped. People just assume there are a lot of people that just assume, okay, we get married, so we're gonna have sex, and it is just something natural, and it's gonna happen. And so people will just believe, well, it's gonna just happen naturally. Listen, it does not just happen naturally. And guys, like I said, I'm gonna continue this conversation, but this I want you to understand. This I really want you to understand that there are a lot of people who got married, but emotionally they were not prepared. And even you have the challenge where you have some marriage counselors, some pastors, some counselors who do not, or primary counselor, they do not teach about that. They do not help preparing the individuals about that. And so long ago parents have that word like if it was a death sentence. I like that, you don't talk about it at all. But there are a lot of people who gets into marriage and they're not prepared emotionally, and that is sad. So you get in there and you have the challenge of not being able to really connect with your partner. This is one of the reasons why I have put together this drip free system. And hey, my system is one I've just almost finished developing that pre-marriage system. All right, that drip-free pre-marriage system. So for couples who are gonna get married, I've developed that system to help them, because these are some of the reasons why you have people get into marriage and they're not prepared, because emotionally they're not being taught, they're not being prepared. Uh let me just read this comment. So many reasons for the emotional disconnect. For example, one would say, I'm getting old, so I have to get married. So they marry just because. All right. So that the biological clock thing, my biological clock is ticking. I need to get married before I lose out and such like that. And so they get married, not thinking or not really paying attention to that emotional aspect. Um, Another comment says, actually, I know it happened. I remember someone told me what happened when they got married. Some people get married and they don't know what to do. There's no emotional connection. And so they are in there physically, but emotionally they're not connected. And so I wanna recommend to you, so that you can recommend to others, this book called Drip Free Marriage: How to Stop the Slow Leak That Ruin Love. All right, and this in this book I talk about that aspect, that emotional connection in marriage. All right, I talk about that. And like I was saying earlier, I also developed the drip free marriage premarital system, and I'm going to launch that pretty soon. I'm going to be, I've tested, well, I am going to test it, I should say, because and someone close. But it's really we have to be able to help persons, we have to be able to help others. You don't want the marriage to break. Like I said, it doesn't just end when they say, I want a divorce. There are things that we need to deal with. And as I grow, I learn, and as I listen to couples, as I teach, as I research, I see a lot of these things in relationship, and I am bringing it so that you don't make the same mistakes that others made. And I tell you, if I had a book like this before, I show some of the mistakes that I would have made, I would not have made them. I said, hey, this book is just the people who have already started reading this book. I get calls, Dr. Neil, this book is just awesome. You gotta take this book across the world. That's one person said to me today, you gotta get on the road with this book. And so I'm encouraging you, get this book. You can get it on Amazon, or if you're close around me, you can get it from me. This book helps you, because most of these marriage tools deals with the whole aspect of when things happen drastically. This is something that would prepare you to deal with the little things before they get big things and destroy your marriage. So I want to encourage you to get that. Next week is Mother's Day Sunday. We're gonna talk about some things around mothers. And so if you know a mother and you're looking for a gift for a mother, I recommend this book, Fruit of the Womb. This is a great book for a mother. Let me pause and say hi to Jack Joe. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Maxine Douglin, great having you locked on. So for a Mother's Day gift, this book, Fruit of the Womb, is a great Mother's Day gift for any mother. All right. But we're going to continue. let me just read. Yes, the marriage counselor, pastor, don't mention that. All they do is encourage you to trust God and love you, and love. Okay, love the other. I believe here, the other half, especially when you grew up in a Christian home where mom, dad is, or where mom and dad is a pastor. You don't even fear you don't even hear anything about sex life, and that is true. You grew up in certain homes, and when you grew up in those homes, they don't talk about it, you hear nothing about it, and so you don't get to deal. But these are the reality of life. I want to pick this up not next Sunday but the following one, because next Sunday I want to deal with some issues um on mothers. But guys, get my resource, get my resources. My drip free journal is also published. You can get that. We're going to talk some about that. But have an awesome rest of the time, and I'm looking forward to see you next time on Conversations with Dr. Els. Remember, whatever you do, add value to someone's life. God bless you. Until next time, this has been Conversations with Dr. Els.